We often describe language as a neutral tool to bridge the gap between people, but in India, that connection is frequently scattered by force. India is home to roughly 780 active languages and dialects. In this landscape, language functions as a violently enforced border. Today, a specific political agenda swings at that diversity. The goal is a uniform landscape: one nation, one religion, one language. It allocates English privilege to an elite, while weaponizing Hindi to enforce nationalistic purity on everyone else. When a state attempts to pave over linguistic diversity for economic or national control, words cease to be communication and become weapons of exclusion. Author Arundhati Roy views the struggle through a different lens. She describes India as a messy, complex ocean of languages. Inside this ocean, translation is far from a high-end literary art. For ordinary people, it is a street-level survival kit. This raises a difficult question. How does a person live inside this ocean while a nationalist wrecking ball swings at them? Understanding these language wars requires us to look past political mandates and focus on the bodies of the people caught in the crossfire. In Roy's novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, we meet Mulakat Ali. His life is anchored in Urdu poetry, the language of the streets and the bazaars. His world began to fracture long ago. Following the 1857 uprising against British rule, elites began a deliberate political cleaving of language to create divided religious constituencies. Elites partitioned shared tongues, weeding out Persian influences to manufacture a pure Hindi, while ghettoizing Urdu as a perceived Muslim or Pakistani threat. Mulakat Ali recites classical poetry to modern journalists as a sly snack, a warning wrapped in mourning for his shrinking world. This deliberate cleaving of Urdu and Hindi illustrates how the pursuit of linguistic purity relies on the systematic erasure of a culture's shared history. Anjum, Mulakat Ali's child, is a hijra. Her existence breaks the strict masculine and feminine gender binaries built directly into the grammar of the Urdu language. In 2002, this linguistic and religious nationalism erupted into deadly physical violence during the Gujarat massacre. Mobs physically targeted history, destroying the graves of 17th century Urdu poets and paving tar roads directly over the ruins. Anjum only survived by translating her identity, forced by a mob to chant Hindu nationalist slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai to avoid being murdered. In a violently nationalistic state, borders are drawn with words. For Anjum, translating those words is the only way to stay alive. Surviving but deeply changed, Anjum retreats to a graveyard and builds the Jannat guest house, a sanctuary for those rejected by the outside world. This graveyard becomes the living embodiment of Roy's ocean of languages, pushing back against the homogenizing force of the wrecking ball. Life here is a messy, defiant coexistence, where funeral services blend Islamic prayers with Hindi revolutionary songs and English passages from Shakespeare. Anjum teaches her adopted daughter the Sanskrit Gayatri mantra as a preemptive shield, a piece of translation intended to protect her from future mob violence. Resilience in the face of homogenization is found in the radical, imperfect act of making room for one another. This leads back to Roy's central question: what is the morally appropriate language in which to think and write? In a world of economic wrecking balls and violently enforced borders, the demand for linguistic or cultural purity is always a trap. Survival requires embracing the ocean and accepting that we are a gathering of overlapping histories and borrowed words. In an era of forced homogenization, the only morally appropriate language is the language of translation.